Hi, welcome back to the Poke Historian. I'm your host, Matt X, and this is the show where I get on this camera and we just talk about whatever. We talk about the Pokemon card market, what's going on, what's crazy, new, and exciting in the hobby. And tonight, I wanted to share some thoughts on the rise and fall of alternate art cards from the Sword and Shield generation. Because it wasn't too long ago when alternate art Pokemon cards were the hot thing that everybody wanted. And it just seems like over time they're being forgotten about and are not able to keep pace with the newer cards. So let's go ahead and talk about it, shall we? So during the Sun and Moon era, we had alternate art cards, but believe it or not, people just really didn't care about them all that much. They were interesting, but a lot of the alternate art cards weren't much more expensive than the regular art cards, especially I'm looking at those tag team cards. What everybody wanted back then was the rainbow rares. Everybody thought those were cool. And then we got to the Sword and Shield era. We got to the COVID boom. First few sets of the Sword and Shield era, we didn't have any alternate arts. It was rainbow rares were still the chase cards. People were still after those. But during this time, it's like people became more interested in the artwork and everyone started putting their little pinky fingers in the air and thinking they were all men and women of artwork admiration, which is really cool because I like a lot of the artwork too. But there was definitely like an artwork renaissance, I would say, during the COVID boom, where all of a sudden everyone, including myself, started learning the artists and learning what type of depictions and drawings they like to do and how long they've been doing work for. And a lot of people developed their favorites, such as Kamiya and Konda and Arita. And it was the first time in the hobby that a lot of people actually began to appreciate the artists. And with the appreciation of the artists, the cards that had very good artwork also became very, very sought after, which of course is when we got the alternate arts, because I don't know if it could be a case of like what came first, the chicken or the egg, but right around the time the alternate arts really came out, people started caring about the artwork a lot more. And then everything switched over from liking the rainbow rares to now everybody was super into artwork, and the alternate arts were what everybody wanted because they were very artistic and fancy and beautiful cards. And mind you, I still think that there are a lot of alternate art cards that I think are absolutely beautiful. The Glaceon VMAX is a favorite of mine. I even like the Luminion for Brilliant Stars. There's a lot of cool ones out there. But everyone thought the alternate arts, like the rainbow rares, were going to stay on top forever just because they had this magnificent art and people were like, oh, this is going to be the new thing. These cards are going to be the chase cards for the rest of forever. They're timeless. Nothing is ever going to happen to replace these. Well, the truth is there's always going to be something new to replace something old. It's just the way the world works. And then when we got to the Scarlet and Violet generation, Pokemon realized that, well, wait a second, you know what? These alternate art things that people have been super into, what if we just made more of them and just made them easier to pull? And it really kind of started, they must have figured this out kind of near the tail end of Sword and Shield, because Crown Zenith basically did that with the Galarian Gallery. We got basically a bunch of illustration rares. But then when we got to Scarlet and Violet, all of a sudden we started seeing illustration rares and special illustration rares in all the sets, and we got tons of them. And then all of a sudden you look back at the alternate art cards and you're like, you know what? What was really so special about those? The pull rates? Special illustration rares are really hard to pull. Like, what really makes them special? And then over time, as Scarlet and Violet went out, and of course now the Mega Evolution, a lot of people have just kind of forgotten about alternate arts. And, you know, you look at, for example, that Luminion card I was talking about from Brilliant Stars, and when you do look at it, you think to yourself, well, heck, this could just be an illustration rare or a special illustration rare. Like, what's so special about this card? And not to say that the artwork doesn't matter, because it absolutely does. I like looking at a lot of the artwork from these alternate art cards, but what made them special, which was having really good artwork, has become the norm now. Now we have lots and lots of good artwork in each set. So it's just interesting looking back and thinking people thought alternate arts were never going to be replaced and they would never get old, but Pokemon did find a way to go ahead and make a more interesting type of card, and their thought was just to make more and more of these illustration type cards, and that's where we're at today. And now everyone's obsessed with special illustration mirrors, thinking, well, this is the peak. Nothing could ever replace that. But I can tell you right now, I don't know what's going to happen or what will replace it, but something's going to end up replacing those too someday. It's just kind of the way it goes. Anyways, I think it's just kind of like an interesting lesson. I'm not going to say that alternate cards are going to be ever forgotten, or that some of the cards aren't going to rise in value and over time, or that people aren't going to want to collect them. The point of this video, I think, is just to use this as a history lesson to learn that what is popular today, what everybody else wants today, isn't necessarily going to stand the test of time and still be popular in 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now. Things are always changing. I mean, again, even if you look back to the E-Series, you look at Expedition, Aquapolis, Skyridge, nobody wanted it. But then during the artwork renaissance, everyone started realizing, oh yeah, those are really nice. I like artwork in Pokemon cards, and look at these ones. These ones got the best artwork of all. And at the time those sets came out, everyone thought they were weird. So anyways, that's all I got. Just the ramblings of a Pokemon collector in Florida. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Oh yeah, and hit the notification bell.